All right, it was liftoff for the Atlas Lions of Morocco. They won that game by 3-0, getting themselves a heavy scoreline, 3 points on the board, and hopefully they are first step towards an AFCON. They've not won an AFCON since 1976, and they are hoping that this year it will work out for them. Let me take thoughts of the guys. Sednam, let me start off with you. Are you surprised by what we saw from the Moroccans?
Not really. They just proved everybody wrong. This time playing as the favorites. Normally they tend to play as the underdogs, but this time playing as the favorites. They stepped up to the plate and they delivered the needed things. That's goals and points. For Tanzania, I think it's difficult for them because it's a long way back. I don't see how they can even get a point in this tournament.
Wow, you don't trust them?
I don't trust them.
I see. Yeah, your thoughts on the performance. I think we'll dissect it on these two sides. Let's start off with the Moroccans. What do you think helped them cross the line? I mean, 3-0, very huge scoreline. Yeah. What did it come down to on the day?
I think it came down to they getting comfortable, and that red card also helped them get comfortable because in the first half, you could tell that they were trying to go through their game plays. They had rehearsed a couple of things in training, especially when they were working the ball from the flanks a bit infield. But consistently, they were missing out on the mark because you could tell that there were a few kinks in their system and how they wanted to play. And so they weren't too comfortable. But after that red card, then things became a little bit easy. They had a little bit more time on the ball once they progressed the ball beyond midfield. And that's how come the second goal came about. We saw how they were able to work the ball with Unai heavily involved. And so I think it was down to that red card and they just getting comfortable as it naturally happens, because once you play your first game and you are under such pressure as they are, you kind of have a few jitters. No matter how experienced you are as a team, you have a few jitters. We've seen it happen over the years. I mean, you look at, for instance, Spain before the 2010 World Cup. A lot of people picked them to win the 2010 World Cup. That they were so good, all they had to do was just show up at the tournament, and they will end up walking away with a trophy. The first game they lost to Switzerland because of how the setup was, that there was way too much pressure on them, and they weren't comfortable playing that game against a very defensive side, and they ended up losing that game. And so for Morocco, it was just they getting comfortable and they getting a little bit of help with that record.
Interesting. I don't know if the production team, maybe you can run through the goals and talk about things.
And to top it all up, you look at the first goal, for instance, they couldn't break through up until that set piece came about. They had a couple of good chances where I thought Hakim Ziyech should have been able to square a pass to his teammates. He refused to do so, unlike the Senegalese.
And we do have that first goal. Yeah. Very interesting free kick from Hakim Ziyech.
I won't blame the goalkeeper.
Initially when I saw it, yes, I kind of blamed it, but I get it because the ball went all over the place.
Swayed, but barring that sway, I would have blamed him. He's at fault because you don't do that. But just for the mere fact that he stepped out of position and trying to come back, so he had lost balance and he had only one thing to do, that's just parry
it. And Romain Saiss was there.
He was there
to tap it in.
At the right position.
And I think it's an interesting thing we are seeing. So Djikou has scored, a defender.
Yeah.
Saiss has scored. So it's interesting seeing how some teams put defenders in some of these set-piece situations. Quick thinking from Saiss to see it and then react and put the ball in. We talked about the ease with which the Moroccans played, and that second goal, and I'm sure my producers will put it up.
Yeah.
It was a brilliantly worked goal.
Yes.
I loved watching it, and I was home, and as the sequence was developing, all I was hoping for that a goal would end it, because I thought they really passed the ball around very, very well.
Yesterday, I predicted that Morocco would win by 2-0. Yeah. I thought, honestly, they were going to get a free kick or set-piece goal and the Nesri goal. Yeah. That kind of finish to round it up and get those 2 points, 2 goals and the 3 points. But once you had the red card coming, the spaces were bound to open up. And once the spaces open up, I've always said that one reason why I believe that Morocco can make a successful or deep run in this tournament, despite the huge pressure that they are under, is the fact that they can mix it up. We've already seen them do the defensive side. Before Wahid Regragui took over, they were expansive, typical North African side, very entertaining, very pleasing to watch, but they didn't have that steel. Now they have that steel, and so we get to see the other side of them. In that first half, we didn't get to see that side too many times. Their passes were all over the place, but once that red card came in, it gave them that chance to really express themselves, and that goal was the epitome of they expressing themselves.
Unahi, a player who is enjoying his time at Marseille in France. There's a lot of attention on him. Lovely finish, you know. He didn't have to, he didn't like blast
the ball, like a Kevin De Bruyne type finish.
De Bruyne like KDB. So now let me ask you this. Yao makes a point about the red card and the effect it had on the game. Yeah. If you were the Moroccans, you wake up this morning, you've won 3-0. Would you be concerned that, wait, it had to take a red card for us to break this team down and score 2 extra goals in addition to the... Because at 1-0 it was 11-11. And then the rest of it, when Tanzania went down to 10. If you're in the Moroccan camp, would you be a little worried that, look, it had to take Tanzania losing 1 man for us to get 2 goals?
I wouldn't be worried because after the red card, something happened. The coach of Morocco effected 2 changes instantly, and that's what really changed the game. Because I think Adlid, he came in and then just tore everybody apart, started stringing passes and brought Unahi more into the game for them to have that routine training example for everybody to see what they have actually been doing on the training ground, on the pitch. And for me, those changes were the catalyst for them to win by this margin, because they had been doing the odd thing by releasing the ball into the net, the box, crossing it, and we were not getting those results. But once those 2 changes came into effect, it changed everything.
I see.
It really changed. The changes were everything for them. Those 2 changes. So they won the game from the bench.
And they didn't have extra quality because players like Sofiane Boufal and things came off the bench. They had a lot more quality. Goal number 3, again, another example of VAR and sometimes why VAR works. Because even when I watched it, I could easily tell that goal was a good goal. I think the assistant, maybe from where he was, he must have seen it differently, but VAR got it right. But El Nesri starting off and reminding everybody that he's a class forward.
Yeah, and at this point in time, that goal he scored, it wasn't a header because he's noted for his aerial ability. I mean, at the World Cup, he was famous for out-jumping Ronaldo on a free kick, and so at this time around, he was able to get the goal with his feet, and it just kind of rounded up the game. Not too much of a fight from Tanzania once they went down by a man. But up until that time, they were quite okay. They were doing okay. They were doing well, holding on as long as they could. But unfortunately, that record it kind of messed up a lot of things for them. But even with that record, you can make an argument that his stats didn't show, and he recognized that he was in a dangerous position, and so he kind of pulled his foot away from the challenge. It was more like a mini knee slide, but you can't just collide into the part of a player like that, and that's what warranted the yellow card and not a straight red card. And because he was already on the yellow card,
of course, 2 yellow cards.
That's why I had to go.
Anyway, let me ask you this: you've seen the challenge.
Yes.
Do you think if the referee had been sent to the VAR to see, do you think he may have changed his decision? Because I think the player first, he stretches out his leg.
Then he kind of tucked the back in.
Brings his leg back. What do you think? Do you think it was a fair yellow card?
For it being a yellow card, it's a yellow card all day. But the addition to another yellow card,
that's what made it.
That made it.
So for you, if you were not on a foul and he was yellow carded, you wouldn't have any issues.
No problem.
With that.
No problem. Yeah.
No problem.
The context matters.
Yes. No problem. Once stats were not showing,
then
no
it's
problem.
a yellow card.
But you don't go sliding as if you're jubilating a goal when there's someone's knee available.
The context matters, and knowing very well how context plays a key role in decision making. Knowing that Morocco are overwhelming favorites over Tanzania. Once a challenge like that happens and he gets a chance to go to the VAR, I'm definitely sure that he would have rescinded his decision.
Okay.
And giving him a strong warning that
warning.
"No, this is your final warning. If you do that again, something like that, you are getting sent off." Because the last thing
The referee saw it in real time.
in real time.
Yes. And in real time, it looked
looked like a legit foul. And the last thing you want is to have a game that's boring, a blowout kind of result. You want it to be as competitive as possible. And up until that time, though Morocco was very dominant, Tanzania, they held their own, and it was okay. It was in terms of competition level. But once that record came in, everything just went out the window. And so I honestly believe if he had to go to the VAR, looking at the context that they were playing the game in, I honestly believe he would have rescinded that decision and just given him a strong warning.
I think it leads us brilliantly to talk about Tanzania. Sednam, you said you didn't trust them.
No, I don't.
But up until that red card, I thought they were holding on. Or for you think that they would have lost anyway?
You see, when you go into a football game and you're with your mindset that you are going to hold on,
But it's against Morocco. What else can they do?
you try to at least hit them on the counter or something. Like, try something. But allowing one of your key players who plays outside your shores to even go and get a red card and be doing those kind of things,
Well, how is this their fault?
it messes everything up. But going into their subsequent games, they need to change their approach to a game. They need to understand that they need points to make a statement at the tournament.
So Tanzania, they've got DR Congo
and Zambia.
and Zambia next. So those are games they will have to get something from.
And from their showing, it's going to be extremely difficult.
I think their game against Zambia, they will open up because of their closeness and their style of play. I think against Zambia they will open up, and against DR Congo, it will just be a physical matchup and trying to outduel each other on the physicality game. And I think they'll be evenly matched against Zambia to an extent, and against DR Congo. Though DR Congo will be ahead in terms of quality. In terms of talent level, but they will make it very competitive and very entertaining. So those two games, should they walk away from those two games without a point or points, then that's when I'll be disappointed. Not this game.
Okay.
But when they meet Zambia, it's going to be extremely difficult than it already is because of the Avram Grant factor.
Okay.
Because of how he is now coaching the team to play in a certain manner.
Okay,
it's
the Zambians, you mean?
Yes, it's going to be extremely difficult for Tanzania going into that game.
Wow.
And facing the Congolese, seeing what they did yesterday, it also presents another opportunity for them to also try and get some points on the board.
So I guess broadly, the problem with Tanzania is what? Quality.
Yes,
they just don't have enough quality.
Because in that game against Morocco, especially in the first half, they got a couple of chances. I counted as many as 3, where Morocco had pressed a little bit high. Tanzania had a chance to counter, and the pass that would have really triggered the counter attack, it wasn't there. It was off. And so for me, they lack a bit of quality. And Samata, he looks very, very isolated up top, and he doesn't get.
I really felt sad for him.
He doesn't get enough help, and even the delivery on the crosses when they get one of two set pieces, those few set pieces that they get, the delivery on the crosses, it's not at the highest level. So it makes it very difficult for me to see where the goals will come from. But again, it was against Morocco, and so I'm trying to give them the benefit of that they were just trying to be ultra conservative and try as much as possible to get at least a point from
so you think that now that they are down 3 goals, no points, they might now have to open up,
especially when you are playing against Zambia, Zambia and DR Congo. Once you're in the same region, the same mix, you've seen them a couple of times, and the profile of their players are a bit higher than yours, but it's not gaping. It's not gaping. I mean, you can't put Hakimi in the same bracket as let's say Estopila Sunzu. You just can't. And so I think they will be a little bit up for it in their subsequent games.
All right, we'll see how the Tanzanians will fare in their subsequent games. The two teams they will take on subsequently met yesterday. Interesting, at least first 50-60 minutes between Zambia and DR Congo, and they've given me my other favorite moment of the competition, where that funny piece of goalkeeping by the DR Congo, whatever it is he was thinking, only he can explain to all of us. But let's see the highlights between Zambia and DR Congo.